from a galaxy far, far away.
And a bookshelf straight out of the 90s.
From Thrawn to Dantooine.
And everything in between. This is Legends Look Back.
What is happening over here?
We have a sniffer. There's some sniffing going on.
So we're getting ready for the show, everybody. What's up? Hello. Welcome to Legends Look Back. Getting ready for the show. I look over at Emily. She's got this little tube. What is it? You know, is it legal?
My
don't
little
know. She's
bottle.
a little jar or something. She's sniffing it, and I'm like, what you got over there? Death sticks?
I have
Emily,
essential oils.
tell the good folks what you're sniffing tonight.
Peppermint essential oil.
Nice.
Fun fact, when you're in your last trimester of pregnancy, all the symptoms of the first trimester, aka sensitive nose, nausea, tiredness, it all comes back around. Plus extra. So I've got a wave of nausea this evening, and the guys were making fun of me before the show.
We were supportive.
You were very supportive, but
inquisitive.
lighthearted teasing, which is totally fine. That's what we do here. But yeah, so it turns out your nose gets a lot more sensitive when you're pregnant. Who knew?
Well, I was preparing the show notes, and what I had is I was going to introduce the guests, the co-hosts here in a second. It was like, I'm joined by my legendary co-hosts, one of whom is pregnant, but you'll never guess which one.
You'll never know.
Totally ruined that bit with the whole, sniffing. I will say, Emily, I totally forget you're pregnant because I see shoulders up for the podcast over the Zoom call here. One of these days we'll do an in-person, all four of us. The Living Force guys just did that. Did you guys catch some of that?
Yes.
Yeah,
that
cool.
looked so cool.
Yeah, I actually got to FaceTime with the guys. I was like,
Did you
hey,
really?
I want you all to stand up next to each other so I can size you up
See
from
how
here.
tall everybody is?
Yes.
I will say Rick is exactly as tall as I remember him. Now his other dimensions,
Oh yeah.
I won't spoil.
They've changed.
Since college.
I haven't grown up, but I've grown out.
I actually got dinner with some friends here at the new church, and we're right at the end of dinner, and I was like, oh no, what time is it? What time is it Eastern time? Because I've got a podcast to do tonight. I'm in a new time zone. I'm really struggling with the maths on it all if you're British. And basically I was okay on time, but then the people I was having dinner with, they're like, podcast? You got a podcast? And I was like, boy, do I. You want to hear all about it. Have you ever heard of the outdated and irrelevant Star Wars book known as Legends? And they were like, no. And so I told them all about it. I was like, actually, I've got a friend from college. They went to the same college as me. That is my producer on this. You probably don't know him. Rick Grace. And they were like, we went to Europe with Rick Grace. Small world, man.
love that.
Unbelievably excited to be here with you guys in the right time zone, smelling fresh. Honestly, have no way of knowing how anybody's smelling. Hopefully the nausea settles down. I will say, the book we're talking about tonight, there were a few points where I got a little tummy troubles. Some violent stuff in this bad boy. We are, of course, tonight talking about, I've got the old cover. Pretty soon we're going to have a new cover to show off, and I'm so excited. But we got one of the best Star Wars books, one of the worst covers, sorry to say, Darth Bane, Rule of Two. Unbelievably excited to talk about an absolute Legends masterpiece here tonight. So without further ado, let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back. This is a show that is proudly part of the YOUTINI podcast network. It's a Star Wars books podcast where we collect Star Wars books in every format imaginable, even microfiche, where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my legendary co-hosts, only one of which is pregnant. Can you guess which one? First of all, Freddie C. How are you doing, Freddie?
I'm doing all right. I was thinking about this whole smelling thing, and Emily, you can turn away for a second while I say this, but I'm curious to what does Bane smell like with all those obelisks on him?
Ooh, Oh, I never thought about that.
I mean, you have to
Oh.
imagine he's not cleaning himself, but is he?
Gross.
No, I don't suppose. You're asking the real hard-hitting questions.
That
Here
was
we go.
that was
Yeah, we
Real
just
discussion.
Jumped right in.
Right in the beginning. Here we go,
Darth
guys.
Bane. You can only get this kind of discourse on Legends Look Back,
That's right.
where we talk about what Bane smells like under his organic,
Yummy.
crusty obelisks. You know who probably smells better than crusty obelisks? Our producer, Rick Grace.
Hello, I am here, and as far as I know, smelling decent. And I don't know. I
I'm
haven't
getting a
really
whiff of
smelled
some.
myself today. Yeah, I do have a candle that smells really good, and I'm just enjoying that. It's Timber Wick. That sounds fun, right?
Ooh,
Or
that sounds very
maybe-
Rick.
I wonder if they make
I think that's the brand. Actually,
Timber Rick.
it's
what
Winter
I did there.
Fireside. Yeah, Timber Wick. Yeah,
Timber Rick.
Timber
Got
Rick. I like
Timber
it.
Wick. Timberwick, guys. Timberwick.
Do y'all think they have Star Wars scandals?
What?
it. Well,
They have Star Wars soap, so why not?
There's
They
Star Wars.
should.
So my neighbor last year got them all and called me. Normally that means like he needs some serious urgent help. He's got muscular dystrophy, so like sometimes
Oh.
like I go over there and I'm just like, oh no, what's wrong? And he's like, I got Star Wars soaps. Come smell them. He's very proud, very proud.
Nice.
You know who? What's the transition here? Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm doing well considering I was just asked to sniff as the cold open.
Listen, Freddie was supposed to have the cold open, and he dropped the ball. All right.
It's all good. I feel like every other week I've had some really strong stories to lead, and this was the one week when it was me sniffing. So you're welcome to those of you who were here. You're welcome.
And
Yeah.
expect a great cold open from Freddie one of these days when he finally
Yeah.
comes
you know
through.
what? I'll drop the slammer, as they say.
The slammer,
Nice.
There you
like the
go.
jail,
Perfect.
You know what? I'm not going to spoil it.
It's a tease. It's a tease.
or okay.
Hey, we should do like jaw workouts before next week because my jaw's already like sore from smiling and talking, and so like,
Already,
thing.
we just got
Absolutely.
started.
I know. It's been a busy week.
Okay.
Well, I'm very excited for what we've got to talk about tonight. In fact, I'm a little bit lamenting the fact that we are cutting one of our segments. Can't do this on some of the Roundtable episodes. We've got so much to talk about. I just saw a comment in the chat about excrement, so I'm not sure what to do with that. Just gonna
Yikes.
blow right past it.
Blow right past it.
We're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
Darth Bane, Rules 2. Can't even look at the chat. I'm going to have to mute y'all over there.
All right, I was gonna hold
And
out
so-
on this. I'm sorry, I got to interrupt right there. You guys can't hear this, but I just put a little fart in the live stream. So. Oh, there it is again. That's Darth Bane for you. A little carried away. All right,
Oh
I'm
my
done.
goodness.
I relinquish control.
We have to cut some of the segments, including Thraken's Thrift Store. However, I will say this much. I got some things. I'm very proud of them. I'm very excited. There's some of the nicest collectibles I have ever purchased, ever, as a Star Wars fan. And I could not be more
Ever.
excited. And just hang on to that for next week. Hang on to it. Or 2 weeks from now. One of these days, whenever we get back to it, it's going to be amazing. Now, we are going to spend a little bit of time on Legends Lookout. That is because there are a couple things that are time sensitive. First and foremost, there's a sale. And I've already used it. And I just made the mistake of telling my wife about it. And just got an email confirmation that she just ordered 8 books.
Uh-oh.
As one does when there is a sale. You don't want to lose money.
None of them were Star Wars books, unfortunately, for
Well,
her.
You know, they can't all be
I,
Star
however-
Wars books.
Right.
They have to have some that aren't.
No,
Otherwise they won't
can
be as
absolutely
special.
all be Star Wars books. All right, I got the Barnes and Noble. You ever heard of them? The Barnes and Noble. Why'd I say it that way?
It's a quaint little
Barnes
shop.
and Noble.
Do they sell agricultural goods? They have
I
barns.
think they sell that
in the-
3-story book series with the blue guy.
Oh my goodness, they do in 3 or 4 different formats. Well, we do have a huge sale happening over on BarnesandNoble.com. You can go first and foremost to YOUTINI.com.
Important.
Go to the book of choice. Click the Barnes and Noble link to take you over to BarnesandNoble.com. You know, hey, do us a little favor there. They have a 25% off pre-orders sale. Now, I know what you're thinking. aren't you guys a Legends show? Why would we be buying new books with pre-orders? Freddie, tell the good people what kind of books they should be purchasing with this 25% off pre-orders
Hell.
sale.
Well. Trusa Bakura's not there, but you know what is there? The Epic Legends Collection, Wave number 3, which collects, I can't recall at this moment, but we've got, I believe, an X-Wing book, right? Jared, we've got
Wedge's Gamble, yeah.
Wedge's Gamble, and then we've got another. Are we wrapping up the Bane series as well?
I think so.
I think so.
Looking around me to see. They're in a box somewhere. That did not help. Plagueis. Darth
Plagueis, the best canon book of all.
I feel like there's another one.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Are we going with a Zahn book?
Kenobi.
Darth Maul.
Kenobi.
There it is. Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
Kenobi, that's right.
Yeah, Kenobi. That's the fourth one. What great cutting edge content. We totally know our stuff here at Legends Look Back. Yeah, the next wave of Essential Legends collections is totally worth your pre-order. Great way to go ahead and let those authors know we want Legends. In fact, we can't wait for it. We've got to pay you money way before the books come out, but at a reduced rate because we like sales.
Right.
However, there's one more book. John Jackson Miller just tweeted about this, in fact. Shout out, friend of the show, John Jackson Miller, name drop. He mentioned the fact that there's a book coming out I'd forgotten about. Rick, tell the good people about this book.
The Approaching Storm. Is it a 2-in-1? Is that what this is going on?
Yeah.
I don't know if I actually have heard this announcement from the source, but yeah, they're publishing Kenobi and The Approaching Storm in one volume as a hardcover, which is pretty exciting.
Oh,
Theoretically a hardcover. Now, it's Barnes & Noble. I think online it says it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's going to have a nice cover.
Okay.
You know what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking
Collectible?
that it's one of the, that's right. One of those leather-bound bad boys with the bookmark inside.
Ooh.
Nice. Yeah.
That built-in bookmark, man.
We're suckers
a-
for some ribbon.
With a human eye on it, so it stares at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Human eye.
AR,
Is that like a Hocus Pocus
plug eye.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
Oh,
Hocus Pocus or like the Monster Book of Monsters, you know, somewhere like in
Either
between.
one with the
Yeah,
mouth
yeah.
and
The Rancor,
yeah,
cover,
there you
or
go.
like Crate
That would be
Dragon for
epic.
Kenobi.
there you go,
That's
guys.
not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Pay
That'd
us
be
money.
Now-
awesome. I would buy that.
I'm anxious to see what this is going to look like. Also, what it's going to smell like. Coming back around on that one because Lord knows when you
best
get
smellers.
a new,
Yep.
you get a hardcover, you got to sniff it.
Jared's
They
a
smell
repeat
amazing.
sniffer.
Sniff the
for
crack.
sure.
It's got to be the crack.
Right. Okay. All right. Moving on. Anyway, lots of good Legends books over there. BarnesandNoble.com that you can pre-order those. There's one more piece of news we got to cover here in Legends Lookout before we get into the meat of the show, and that is some old information kind of resurfaced on the internet the other day, and it's hard to know if this is new news. It was something I'd never heard before, and it certainly blew up on the interwebs thanks to some rando on Reddit. Shout out to you, rando on Reddit, for helping this get around. That, well, Emily, you haven't had the honors of reading one of these. Why don't you tell us what was going around the internet the other day?
What?
About the 90s show that almost happened but never did.
No, I don't know about this.
All right, Rick's got
You're gonna have
a
to
graphic
fill me
for
in.
us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
What?
check this out.
Young Jedi Knights.
Yeah, apparently, as the story goes, that in '96, Lucasfilm was approached by Fox Kids about adapting Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Moesta's Young Jedi Knight series to television as a cartoon. And Fox Kids was fresh off of a string of successes, and it was during this period of time. I can't read and talk, man. They were broadcasting legendary hits like Batman, the animated series, and Spider-Man, the animated series. The studio would have been more than happy to add Star Wars to its roster. So, yeah, there's some good stuff there. However, Lucasfilm was focused at the time on the release of the special editions of the original trilogy. That time of we don't talk about that too much. As
Shadows
well
of
as
the Empire came out in '96, so there's that.
right? And they were doing production of the prequel trilogy. And so any plans for a young adult television series in the cartoon format was completely shelved. Lucasfilm would later show renewed interest in the idea in 2003 with their production of Clone Wars following the Republic's Order of Jedi Knights on Cartoon Network. Lucasfilm later did consider bringing KOTOR to the screen as well, but such plans never materialized.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
I missed that piece.
It's funny. Sometimes I wonder if when you see something on Reddit or if I post something, I'm like, I wonder if Jared goes in there and he's like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. He knows what he's talking about. And it turns out to be me. We just don't know. But it's funny because so at Rancho Obi-Wan, he's got a collection that is completely out of sight's eye. It's in his storage. And part of the membership, I get to join, certain galas and see certain videos, and there's like what looks like a poster on like a black board, like a black pastor. What do you call it? Poster board, and then
Did you just
images.
Call it pastor board?
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
did. I'm just looking at both of you guys. I'm like, what's that thing called at church where you put the names on it? Anyway, the poster board, and it has like the images of I guess concept art, right? Like rough concept art of what they liked these to be. They weren't sure what era it was going to be. I had no idea it was Young Jedi Knights, so that's pretty amazing.
Well, I gotta say, big fan of Fox Kids from the 90s. X-Men, the animated series, one of my favorites. Definitely loved Batman and Spider-Man. I also was a big fan of, what's the other one? Digimon. That was Fox Kids.
Oh, yeah.
Digimon.
Oh, yeah.
Digimon.
Nice.
Well, this is tragic that it never materialized. F's in the chat for the show that never was, but we can imagine it, and we can read it. In fact, I will say, since we've got some time here, this came in the mail today. Good buddy sent me an extra Star Wars book he had, and wow, is it in pristine condition.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Rick, for sending me Young Jedi Knights Crisis at Crystal Reef, which I did not own, and the blues and the purples pop on this bad boy.
Sure thing.
Oh, man. That little sus on the character faces there, looking, not sure I'm loving the face of Jason Solo's giving me there. I'm going to turn that upside down so I don't have to stare at me. But I'm very excited for this news to have kind of come out. It was old information, recirculated. I did go and source check. It all looks legit. You know what else is legit? Darth Bane, Rule of Two. I can't wait for it to get to us. So, without further ado, let's roll an ad, and then we will come back with the goods. Dealing with nothing like moving across the country and having to totally reset up all of your podcast gear to really just find yourself at a loss for which dial do I turn which direction. But thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We have a great book to discuss tonight. Emily, tell us a little bit about Darth Bane, Rule of Two.
Of course. So it was released in 2007, written by Drew Karpyshyn, and audiobook by Jonathan Davis. And the reason we're doing it now is there's an Essential Legends Collection edition was released in 2021. Little known fact, Karpyshyn wrote the entirety of the book in 5 months. It was a rushed...
Isn't that crazy?
That is insane. It was a rushed production because Path of Destruction was such a huge hit. Obviously, it was like our favorite book ever. Because of the rush job, the cover artist who did the artwork for Path of Destruction wasn't able to finish in time, hence the original cover. But the final version was published overseas, and we have a Chinese cover.
Yeah, let's talk about the artwork here for a
Yeah.
second. So all right, the original cover, Rick. Do you have this bad boy? Famously, we say it looks like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 graphics.
Yeah, it looks like they just took a snapshot from a video game.
Oh, I don't
Give
see
me a
it.
second. It's coming. Well, it should be.
It's like those shadow assassins that materialize
yeah.
right next to you.
Maybe just we don't want to show it on the show tonight.
All right, I got it here. Cut to me, Rick. Here we go. This is it. The deal is Bane looks very ghostly, and Xana is looking fine, but kind of just like if it's not clear. It's very fuzzy.
Yeah. Don't love it.
It's not amazing. Now, I will say, we do have the actual artist who did books 1 and 3. I think we've got his name here in the notes. Who is this? John Jude Palancar. All right, so there's the original cover. Rick finally found it, threw it up. Now, show the Chinese cover.
I didn't throw it up. I just put it up. Because if I threw it up, it would also be stinky.
Oh, don't come back to this. All right, so this is much more in line with the consistent covers with books 1 and 3.
Yeah.
I like that a lot more.
It's out there. Y'all want to hear my newest collecting rabbit hole I'm going
Oh,
down?
goodness. What are you doing
Alternate
now?
titles.
No.
I'm trying to find this cover,
Nice.
but I don't want the Legends banner.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to have to work some interesting little skills there. Some slicing skills.
There's also like Europe, a lot of Europe, the like Russian editions. Yeah.
Russian
So if
Star
anybody
Wars
has a lead,
novel.
Russian. Very good.
wouldn't Bane make a good like Russian
Yes,
book?
I think.
Yes.
Yes.
I have to think through the politics
Yeah.
of that first before I can answer.
Yeah. I don't think it'd look good on the national, international field.
Depends what they allow.
I know that I think it's a New Dawn, a canon book that has a sick Brazilian cover.
Oh yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking
Well, the
about?
Brazilian Thrawn trilogy books are also just absolutely amazing.
Really? Okay.
A lot of the foreign covers. It's one of my favorite, rabbit holes. We should do it. We should do a whole show sometime about
yeah.
Yeah.
foreign Legends covers. That'd be fun.
I think the Japanese covers are pretty interesting too, and the Spanish ones. Believe it or not, the last what was it? It was Rogue One and Han Solo. Is there another standalone film? Am I missing one?
Rogue One, Solo, that's it?
That's it? I've seen both
That's
of
all that's
those.
coming
I have
down.
not seen those in the
Holiday
US.
special.
I've only seen them in Spain. Because that's when I
Really?
would go visit family, and
Okay, what
it'd be
a
around
posh
that
thing
time
to
of year.
say. I've
Yeah.
only seen them in Spain.
Now, we
Excuse
do have a
me.
third cover now, and that is the Essential Legends Collection cover. Now, what I like about this, I call
yeah.
it the Dread Susanna cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, and her lightsabers, are yellow here, but I think it's just because the whole cover is yellow.
Right.
Not
I
that
wonder
are
why they chose
actually
yellow.
yellow in universe.
It seems like an interesting color choice for a
It's a
Darth
cool
Lord.
cover.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Like
I
you'd
dig
think
it.
it'd be like
Also-
red or something for the Sith.
yeah, you think
Do y'all
so?
think that Bane puts on eyeshadow?
Totally. No doubt.
Well, maybe it's an obelisk deterrent.
He hasn't slept.
I think
Keeps
it's
the obelisks out of his eyes.
Well, he's
it's
wearing
probably
he's wearing that cage, right? So he can't get the obelisks on his face.
Yeah. I think he only wears it when
The
he's
cage.
sleeping. I would love to see a picture of that, like a
I
prototype
really-
for the
Yeah,
obelisk cage.
I need to talk
We
about
might
these
have one.
obelisks.
All right.
We have one. You have? Did you
There's-
collect it, Jared?
there's, uh,
Is
there's
it
an
still
image.
shrink wrapped?
There's an image with Bane and obelisks all over his body, and
Do we
Yeah.
want to see it?
sure,
Yeah.
So this is in a book that I got as a kid.
Oh.
The New Essential Guide to Characters from like 2003, 2004. I think it came out even before Revenge of the Sith. That's a wacky looking Bane.
Yeah.
I
Now,
don't
if
like
y'all
that one.
Google Bane and Obelisk armor, there's some cosplayers who have made this look
That would
dope.
be really cool as cosplay.
If you're not like doing this wacky like wizard look that he's got going on,
Yeah.
it can look really cool. And
Yeah.
I'm
bet.
legitimately thinking about making it. Except for Bane is a buff dude, and I'm just not. So
well, if
you
you're
can-
adding the armor on anyway, you might as well just add some muscles too.
Get one of those like
Thank
Batman suits, and
Yeah.
just pump it up.
6-pack.
All right, I need to talk about this since we're on the topic. When I first read Rule of Two and we got to the obelisk section, I do read quickly, and so sometimes the details I get lost.
skim.
I just want to know what happens, right? I want to know what happens.
Sure.
And so when I heard about all that, I was like, "Is this like a turtle shell? Is this Darth Donatello that we have? Like, what is going on?" Because I
Sith Lord
totally
in the
pictured.
half shell.
Yeah, that's exactly what I pictured. Was he just had this shell that he just wore and could retreat into like a turtle, and so that was my picture of Bane in my mental image.
That's hysterical.
Leave me alone. I need to take a nap.
Oh my gosh. I'm just curious how they replicate. Like, how do they duplicate
You don't wanna know.
themselves
You know.
while being attached to. Anyway.
When
That
a mommy
was
and a daddy obelisk love each other. No, I'm just kidding.
no. I mean, it
Orbalisk.
has to be. Yes.
Orbalisk.
Obelisk. Thank you. Obelisk.
Yeah,
That's,
stop
the,
skimming.
that's the genius of the name. Is it's obelisk,
Yes,
but
that's right.
orbalisk.
Orbalisk.
It is low-key one of my very favorite words in all of Star Wars.
Yes.
It's so
I've just been
satisfying to
saying
say.
it a lot the
Orbalisk.
last couple weeks.
Orbalisk.
right.
Orbalisk.
I'm a fan.
A second ago, I saw Rick mouthing it and Freddie saying it, and it was fun. I enjoyed that sensation. I really did. Well, I will
Puppetry.
say this is absolutely one of the best Legends books ever written. Now, I controversially said on our Path of Destruction roundtable that I think this is better than Path of Destruction. So I'm curious to think what you all think about that. I got a little bit of heat in the Discord. Some people disagree with me. That they're going to have to go and listen to Legends Look Back to find out why I think that. I think this is better. I do think it's got some shortcomings because it was a rush job. However, it is fantastic. I cannot remember the last time I enjoyed just like in any... You'll ever do this thing where even though we do this all the time, sometimes a book really hits for you, just really
Yes.
hits. So like even when you have free time, like 5 minutes, you're like, I got a bathroom break. I'm like, I got to put in my earbuds and listen to like 5 minutes of Rule of Two. Like that's how much I'm loving this. Every last spare second I can get, I'm listening to this book. Does this ever happen to you, Freddie? You said it has.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's possibly because we're reading it for a different point of view, right? Before we would read it for fun, and once we were done, right? We would commit some of it to knowledge and pass on and go on, pass that one on, go on to the next book.
Sure.
And in this case, we still do that, but now we read them to understand it, to ask the questions that we're going to ask and answer them the way we're going to answer, right? So we have a different point of view, but also it might just be the maturity, right? We're a little older now, and we aren't in high school or in college reading these books just for the pleasure of it. We've lived a little bit of life, right? So it reads differently, and I think that's going to go the same with a lot of the canon books. Anybody who reads them in their younger age and they read them 10, 20 years from now, it's going to sound totally different to them.
Now, let me ask you guys, what's your history with this book? Have you read it before?
Yes.
Because this is one of the books I have the most visceral memory of reading.
Well,
spent
that's
a
got to
summer.
be a story.
There was a summer. All right, buckle up. Here we go.
Visceral is
summer
a
where
very
my-
choice word.
As a teenager, my parents would let me drive 400 miles
What?
across the country to the next state from Arkansas to Oklahoma to visit my hometown with my friends, and I would spend the summer there. We'd go to summer camp. We'd goof off. One time we snuck into the chief of police's pool. I mean, it was the whole thing. Hopefully he doesn't watch Legends Look Back. Sorry, dude.
Chief of police.
And I went to a bookstore, like a Walden Books in a mall or something. This was before we had YOUTINI, and I knew all the Star Wars books were coming out for the whole year. I had read Path of Destruction, and then all of a sudden, Rule of Two, the hardback, was sitting in the bookstore on the shelf. And y'all know me, like I can't just be chill over something like this. I just scream.
I have zero chill.
I pick up the book and buy it, and I didn't have money for a $28 hardcover. Are you kidding me? And I just remember
some plasma.
that summer. I remember staying up all night at preacher training camp, the last night of preacher training camp, in the stairwell. Remember one of the counselors came by and was like, "Aren't you going to go to bed?" And I was like, "You don't understand how good this book is." It gets really heated at the end too. About to get into spoiler heavy territory in a second, and I just eventually my dad, they'd come in for the last night, the awards ceremony. There's a lot of backstory here with the origins of preacher training camp. Another show. Anyway, he was finally like, "You've got to go to sleep," and I was like, "No, I'm gonna finish this book." All right, that's my memory. There you go. I can still smell that stairwell like it was yesterday.
Man.
Smelly.
Yeah.
Sniffy.
You've read this one before. Emily, this is a repeat read for you.
It is one of the few. I read it. So let's see. I read Path of Destruction because that's one of the YOUTINI's foundational 5. So like back in the original days, I read that one, and then it's a trilogy. So I'm pretty sure the ebook had all 3 books together, and so I just kind of kept going. So I read this kind of back to back to back the first time.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah,
Great.
pretty simple.
Very different from my first experience. I read them as they were coming out,
Yep.
which is rare for me with Legends books. Freddie, what about you?
Yeah, man, this book brings back an interesting memory. It was about 2007. I was staying in the dorms still, and our dorms smelled like cinnamon, like a
What?
rice milk with cinnamon. I don't know.
Your
I don't
dorm
know.
smelled like that?
The whole dorm smelled like cinnamon rice
Where
milk.
was it? Spain?
Mine smelled like men's feet.
Yeah, that's what dorms should usually smell like.
Ours didn't.
Or like Bane and
it was weird.
Orbalist armor.
It was also
Cinnamon.
it was also very old. Like it was a very old building, so it's probably like just
As they all
generations and
smell
generations.
like rice milk, cinnamon, like you're like horchata. Like that's what you're describing right now. It smelled like horchata.
Exactly. That's exactly.
All right,
Like what?
Horchata.
horchata. Oh,
Yeah.
They're more cultured
Never
than
heard
we
of it.
are. Yeah.
So I'm in the dorm and I'm looking at the clock and it's like 3 a.m. and I remember thinking to myself, you know what? My class is at 8. If I go to bed at 5, that's okay.
What?
Wow.
This book I was into it, man. It was.
It's a page turner.
I just remember I bought it that day at the bookstore, the student bookstore. I came back, of course, charged my student account. Didn't pay for it right up front.
You put this book on credit?
I'm
Oh, yeah, any Star Wars
you've
book that
done
came
this,
out
You've
is
had
on
this
credit,
story
on credit.
before.
A Star Wars book.
How many
worth going into
books
debt
did you
for.
get in lieu
Yeah.
of textbooks?
Oh, a lot.
We should have a. Oh my gosh.
Dude, if that
They
was an
sold Star
option-
Wars books in your student
Oh,
library?
totally. Yep. Star Wars books, comics,
Oh, that's,
everything.
That's
No way.
awesome.
It was dangerous.
I
All
bet
right.
they made a lot of
I'm
money
going
on
to
that.
Freddie's college.
Yeah. I was
Back
Smells
to
like
school,
horchata.
youths. What's up? That was my boombox on my shoulder.
Gotcha.
Is people don't do boomboxes anymore.
I thought maybe a
Love it.
skateboard.
So-
I couldn't tell what it was up there.
Hey,
Yeah, it could be.
Hey,
It could be.
kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, fellow kids. Rick, have you read this before?
Oh yeah. This is my second time through, and see, the first time I loved it. It was just wide open experience for me. The second book, I think it's such a different book from the first one. I definitely love the
It is,
ending of
yeah.
it. The combat scenes at the end, those are, like some of the best I think that I've read. And I remember this is when I was first getting into audiobooks. And
Oh, it's spectacular.
I need
That's a
to
good one.
confess that I was too cheap for Audible, and so I found them on YouTube and I listened to them for free. And
What?
Rick,
I
don't
know.
say it.
Is it the
But-
ones with the librarians that read it to you? And
No,
they
no.
said.
No, it's the real deal.
Oh, wow.
And I was so like in love with it that is the one. This is the book that set me straight, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay for these from now on. And
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I'm ashamed to tell that story, but it's true. Like, and
It's. I think a lot of us. Have,
that's how
There's pirates in Star Wars, therefore it's okay.
Never-
Am I right?
never-
something
heard of
like
them.
that. Something like that.
This is the Jonathan Davis audiobook is.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute
It was
chef's kiss.
wonderful.
I love these, man.
A delight.
Mhm.
It is all right. I think I've read this 4 or 5 times at this point. I've read it so many times now I've lost count, which is a really fun feeling. Really fun feeling. Now I do want to say we're going to get into the summary of the book. We're going to talk about characters tonight, overarching questions next week, and as long as we're going, probably a couple quick characters at the start of next week too. But I do want to say I've got a theory about this. We're going to workshop it just real quick before we get into the summary. I think because Drew Karpyshyn had to rush this book, and he wrote it in such a hurry. It's as if he immersed himself in it so deeply, like Bane immerses himself in the dark side, if you will, that it has that same effect on the reader. It's a book that you can't stop reading. It's, I would say, maybe the most page turner of any Star Wars book ever written.
Whoa.
You heard it here first, folks. Bold claim,
Wow.
sweeping declaration. The most addictive Star Wars book ever, like the dark side. Once you've got a taste of it, you can't stop. It's all consuming. I think because he had to write it in a rush, and so I imagine he was doing 10, 12-hour days on this thing. Because of that, I think it has that same effect on the reader. is just so incredibly immersive because he gave it so much attention and devotion and focus. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Yeah,
Who agrees?
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there
where
is
you
like
can
a
see
sense
that?
of urgency in the novel
Exactly.
as it goes on.
It's like
There is?
it's like film, right? Like during slow scenes, your eye stays in the same place, but when it's a quick scene, right, your eyes are moving all over the screen, and that's exactly how the book feels, right? You're hopping from planet to planet. You see Xana's like, "Hurry up, we got to get out of here," and there's just a sense of urgency to just, and we all kind of know how this ends, right? We should have an idea of where the future is at this point. That's the cool part of being like a Star Wars fan, and I actually put that in Discord, I believe it was. How cool it is to just experience different parts, right? The Jedi are in the fog of war. They don't have any idea of who Bane is, but Bane knows who they are, and then we see what it's like when they meet. And the whole time, you're just like, I mean, I was working out to this because I was just so pumped.
This is a good workout
Okay.
book, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Well, this book, controversially, I made the claim that I think it's better than Path of Destruction. Some people, including here in the chat, Caleb Blamenik from the Cosmic Force, disagreeing with me. That's fine. You're welcome to disagree with me.
Yeah, I disagree.
Welcome to disagree with me. But this is my show, so whatever I say goes. Now, the fact of the matter is that because the first one is an adaptation of a comic and a short story, it's as if the whole third act is kind of shoehorned in there, and he's trying to make it fit, and it's just a little awkward to me.
That's true.
And maybe that's because I know too much. I've got too much of the backstory. Rule of Two is it's his baby. He gave birth to this thing in 5 months of urgency, and it is very much now. Here's my reason why there's no skips. A lot of times in a book, there's a chapter or like a whole plot line where you're like, I can't wait to get back to Luke Skywalker and what he's doing, to the main plot. This book doesn't have that. Even Xana's plot, Johan's plot, I would even say Darovitz. Darovit?
Something like that.
Tomcat. His plot. I mean, every single one, you're like just as invested as the next. All right,
It's a really
that's
good
my-
middle book of a trilogy. Like, it does a
Yes.
really great
Yeah.
job weaving the first and the last storylines. Like, all the characters are really well melded. Like, I felt like there aren't any extra characters. Like there are in a lot of other books.
I see everyone's point here because the first one is an absolute page turner. The second one reads really quickly, and the way I feel these books read are exactly the pace that the book is set, which is interesting, right? The first part, Bane's learning, he's becoming, he's not quite there yet. He's got to take some time to really dig into how to be a Sith, how to fight. And in this book, I mean, we see how good he is at fighting. There's no doubt about it. And we see how good he is at understanding the martial art. And Xana, too. I mean, goodness gracious. But the crazy thing is the first one, you get time with Bane. You get time to sit down with him, question people, read the tomes. And the second one, he's like on the go because he killed all of the Sith and basically a good chunk of the Jedi, right? And he's running and trying to get things going, and he's infected and trying to figure out how to get out of this thing, searching for knowledge. And he's got to be quick and stealthy about it. So the book reads quick and stealthy to me. So not as diving deep as a lot of people liked with the first one, but also like action-packed, just like Emily said. As a second book, if this was slow, I'm not sure a lot of people would have picked it up.
That's a good point.
Now, all right, we talked last week about how YOUTINI has now made it onto the back of a couple Star Wars books. I just picked up my copy, the paperback of Victory's Price yesterday. It's around here somewhere. Oh, yeah, here it is. YOUTINI is in those yellow letters right at the top. Let me zoom in closer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, look at that, right there at the top of the book. Beautiful. Now, I would love to get a Legends Look Back quote on the back of an Essential Legends collection book. So let's workshop it. Let's try to get the wording just right, okay?
Yep. I wonder how Bane smells.
say-
Legends look back.
No!
It's a best smeller, Jared Mays.
It's a bestseller. That's a good one. I like that.
Okay, how about the fastest page turner in all of Star Wars Legends?
I like
Fastest page turner? The best
Fastest-
page the most page turnery Star Wars book there ever did was.
it. These
There you go.
These pages will turn faster than running the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. I don't know.
That's a good one. Post it.
Yeah.
Oh. We'll work on it.
Yep.
We'll work on it. Well, let's get into it. Remember, everybody, this is going to be spoiler-heavy territory, except for only moderately so, because I got a little ways into writing the summary and gave up. So there will come a point in which it's a little bit open-ended, because I'm like 2/3 of the way through the audiobook. Next week, though, you can catch the rest. Here we go. The book opens on Rusan in the aftermath of the disastrous thought bomb, trademark, that obliterated the Sith, Master Hoth, and 100 of the best Jedi. Besides Darth Bane and his newly christened Sith apprentice Rain, one Force user on Rusan survived, Rain's cousin with the rad nickname Tomcat. He rejects his childhood name, even though, as I just said, it's rad, in favor of his given name, Darovit, which I'm realizing is really hard to say over and over and over. Darovit. It sounds like a swear word, doesn't it?
It does.
Especially a Star Wars swear word.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm glad you agree with me. He also rejects both the Jedi and the Sith, even after having served alongside the Sith in the Jedi vs. Sith comic. Bane challenges Rain to face Darovit as a final test before joining him. Rain chooses to spare Darovit, disintegrating one of his hands, which is actually pictured in the comic, which is really cool. He looks at it like, my hand. And it's really cool. I like that part. All right, we'll post a pic in the Discord unless we forget. Instead of killing him, she defends her choice by saying there would have been no purpose in his death. That would eventually have cataclysmic ramifications years down the line. From there, Bane forces Rain, who chooses her given name, Xana, not Hannah, despite what Emily and autocorrect are trying to tell me. Chooses Xana as her Sith name to find her way off planet. He's got super secret Knights of the Old Republic side quests to complete. Bane's quest leads him to Duxon, where he's tormented by an apparition of Lord Khan. In the Tomb of Frieden Nad, Bane is ambushed by ancient Sith parasites called Orbalisks, which feed on the dark side of the Force, reproduce all over their host's body, and form a lightsaber-proof body armor, but at great price, immense pain to the user, and an increased dark side fury. The original cover isn't the only video game element to this book. 10 years ahead into the future, which I've read this book 4 or 5 times, but I audibly gasped when I got to that part because I forgot. 10 years in the future, Xana is an undercover operative in exposing and eliminating threats to the Republic so that the Sith can eventually eliminate the Jedi and dominate the galaxy in one fell swoop. It's a little complicated, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. And spoiler alert, if you watch, the movies, it works. This leads her to a man named Hetton, who runs an underground militant organization on Sereno, who teaches her about the ancient practice of Sith alchemy. But it's short-lived because Xana leads him to Bane, who totally, just absolutely decimates him. It creates some tension between Xana and Bane, but Xana begins to realize that Bane is not invulnerable. More on that later. While Xana's off running around with boyfriends doing secret Sith things, Zane's trying and failing over and over and over again to create his own holocron, because Revan's holocron was pretty dope, honestly, and he wants to be like Revan, don't we all? Mm-hmm. There's a lot more, including Sith alchemy. Xana begins to probe Bane's defenses in order to find a crack in his defenses, to find a weakness, trying to convince him to dispose of the Orbalisks, because then he'll be weaker. But Bane begins to realize these Orbalisks, they're kind of getting on my nerves. Darovit comes back into play, Johan comes back around, and it all comes together in an explosive conclusion. We're just going to leave it at that till next week. Now, let's talk about the 2 main characters for tonight, and then we'll call it quits. We'll get over to some of the other characters at the top of the show next week. First and foremost, Darth Bane. Ever heard of him?
Yes.
This is interesting to see Bane, who we saw his rise to power last book. Interesting to see him now in the teaching role. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you guys all agree with Bane's teaching tactics?
He seems to be teaching the same way that he thought he should have been taught, right? The way he thought the Brotherhood should have gone, which is, if you're strong enough, you're going to figure it out. And, I mean, he basically left, right? And he's like, all right, bye. And she's like, why aren't you taking me with you? And he said it, right? If you're supposed to be my apprentice, you're going to find me. Mm-hmm. And it really instills what he thinks the rule of 2 should be: one who has the power and one who's craving it. And we all know Xana is absolutely craving that power.
I feel like he's
Yeah,
consistently
absolutely.
testing Xana to see if she's worthy, which is an interesting tactic to take. Because in my opinion, like, you take an apprentice and you just kind of commit to that apprentice. But, like, it seems like he's constantly testing her to see if she's, like, the chosen one, almost.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Bane plays the long game. If she's not worthy, he wants to choose the right successor because he invented the rule of two. He's
That's
super in
true.
love with his teaching philosophy. It's like that professor at school who like pioneered a new kind of form, like a new theory. You know what I mean?
Or coined
Like the
a
professor's
term.
like
and then,
super
like,
in love with their way of doing things.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I'm trying to think of one. I had a professor who had like his own missionary method. Like he had his own, in terms of training missionaries, like he had his own scheme on what this looked like, and he even like invented a couple phrases, a couple of terms, and he thought he was the absolute coolest guy there ever was, and you kind of had to believe that or you weren't going to pass, right? That's kind of what this is like. Yeah.
You can tell that he
That's-
definitely is looking at every single thing Xana is doing, right? Like just like Emily said, he puts her in these tests and he just looks at her, what she does, how she reacts, and if she dies, she dies.
Yeah, and, like, the first one, she's, like, 10. Like,
Yeah,
that's a little
exactly.
early, don't you think?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, yeah, just find a way to get to this other planet. So she, like, literally has to murder an entire ship's worth of people and then, like, crash land.
Yeah.
Like, what in
Imagine
the
a
world?
10-year-old going through that. That's crazy.
Yep.
That is crazy.
What if you contrast Bane's method of being really cold and calculating towards Xana? There's a little paragraph, in fact, it's just beautifully written, that says Bane was not a father figure to Xana. He trained her. He was the only other person in her life in an authority role, but he was not like a father to her. He was not warm. Never had empathy. Not an ounce of empathy toward her. If you contrast that with like Palpatine's method of training Anakin, for example,
My boy.
he coddles Anakin. He is a father to him. He inserts himself in that
interesting.
vacancy. And I mean,
I hadn't thought about
That's-
and it
a good
I would
point.
say,
I was
real
actually
effective in some ways.
I was actually thinking, about how even the Jedi, like, you never see, Yoda being this grandfather figure. He's still very, not professional, but distant and, throws off attachments. And that's very much the Jedi vibe. So, yeah, I get what you're saying, that the Sith could either go toward cruelty or embrace a family passion kind of, mentality of full sympathy and all that. That'd definitely be, yeah.
It's also the Sith thing, right? Like how to be deceptive, and for Palpatine, he was like, this kid really wants a dad. He only has a mom, so if I act as that dad, he's going to cling on to me and believe everything I say, etc.
You just said Klingon. Star Trek.
No,
Rick, get out of here!
nerd.
You nerd!
You nerds.
Now, Caleb makes a good point in the chat that in the same way, yeah, that's true, but Palpatine was way worse to Vader than Bane was to Xana, which is also true. So it's a manipulation tactic. It wasn't him being an actual father figure, right? It was manipulating, acting like a dad. Great point, Rocky. Now, I've got another comparison for Bane. He is like that professor in college who's pioneered a new theory. He's unlike Palpatine as the father figure. Here's another one. He's a lot like Corey Hilton.
Oh my gosh.
And here's why. First of all, I want somebody to please draw me a picture of Corey Hilton wearing obelisks all over himself and with a big cage helmet. But here's why. Corey goes from hobby to hobby to hobby, like fully immersed, like absolutely tunnel vision, laser focused from one thing to another. Just in the 3 years I've known Corey, 3 years I've known Corey, he's gotten fully obsessed over like starting a YouTube channel, learning everything. He's like, I'm going to learn everything there is to learn about this thing in everything there is to learn about this one particular topic in a weekend. And he'll say, okay, guys, I watched 720 hours of YouTube, and now I'm an expert in this thing, right? he has learned terrariums. Got me hooked on that one. Thank you for that.
I forgot about
Big
the
into
terrariums.
Yeah. You know who didn't give up on terrariums? Me. I still like them. All right. What else? The camper. Built a whole camper out of a trailer.
YOUTINI was
Bane?
one of those projects.
Yeah. Coda, like software. All right.
Yes.
He'll learn everything. Sure.
Don't forget, YOUTINI.gifts, ladies and gentlemen.
YOUTINI.gifts.
Corey.
Oh my goodness. I forgot. Yeah.
YOUTINI.gifts is Bane's holocron. Are you with me?
Okay.
Bane goes from hobby to hobby to hobby. He invents the rule of two.
Yeah.
He falls in love with YOUTINI, the first book. He gets super into, like, I almost said Old Testament, into like ancient dark side lore. He was a big Revan
Same thing,
fanboy
same
for a
thing.
while.
Same.
Huge Revan fanboy. Fell deeply in love with Revan. Then went to Revan's house. Revan didn't care. And so gave up on that. All right, so you see what I mean? Hobby to hobby to hobby. This book, his hobbies are obelisks and holocrons.
Yeah, true. In the first one, it was Sith knowledge, but before that, it was fighting arts. So
Yeah. All right. So can I defend both Corey and Darth Bane here for just
Please
a second?
do. Corey is going to fire me for this.
I mean, he's the boss, so I'll go ahead and say some good words here. You know, I think from Bane's perspective, he has the burden of carrying all of the Sith on his shoulders, right? He is the one who's moving things forward, and so he's not doing these out of, trying to just find distractions or like. It's not a distraction from his task. It is his task, in my opinion. He uses these to find a way to like holocron specifically. That is his medium for making sure that information is passed, because his big fear is that information will be lost if he is killed before his apprentice is truly ready, and same for future lines of Sith. And so I think that his what we might call his distractions are actually on point. And the argument could be made for Corey that he is, becoming a well-rounded person through all of these adventures and different things he does to fill his time. That it's part of his mission, We'll go with that. It's broad that way.
Jared and I can also attest to that. When we tunnel vision into our collections, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My Star Wars room is a big one. It just isn't getting a ton of attention right now, as you can tell by the 40 boxes behind me.
Goodness.
Great point. Oh my goodness. Well, somebody please share that clip with Corey.
Yeah.
And also Rick's defense. We love you more than we love Bane. Even more than we love Bane. All right.
Hey, I've got
He
a
loves
question
the
real quick.
teasing. He loves it.
Is there more than one Duxon?
No. It's the moon of Onderon.
Okay.
Why do you
'Cause
ask?
If there was more than one Duxon,
Oh, no.
when they
This is
line
such a
up,
bad
does
joke.
that mean that we have all of our ducks in a row?
Gosh.
Oh
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help
No.
it.
Jared's
done.
gone. He's left.
Everyone, that is Legends Look Back. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for joining us.
Should I start the outro yet?
Yeah.
Too bad I'm at the controls.
Oh my
so
gosh.
This is what I'm here for, guys.
This the couple of the friends I went out to dinner with, Rick, they said, "Oh yeah, we love Rick, but his dad jokes though. His dad jokes."
We draw the line. We can only go
man.
so far.
Oh yeah, he's got the dad jokes.
It's a miracle I'm still married.
Absolutely. Well, I came up with that comparison on the spot. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah,
gotta
that's
say.
good. That was good.
Pretty proud of it. Now, let me ask you this: which is more dangerous to Bane? Xana, as her, his apprentice, and she's supposed to overthrow him eventually when she gets strong enough. The Orbelisks, or his holocron hobby. Which of those do you think poses the biggest threat to him and his focus on overthrowing the Jedi, so forth and so on? I'll start with you, Freddie.
It seems like every single one of these things is going to destroy him, right? Xana doesn't want to quite end his life yet because she has a lot to learn and she thinks that she's weak, but I feel like she's understanding that the path that she's taking is a little different, right? She's more into the sorcery now, and that's not something Bane can really help with yet. And then there's the obsession with her trying to figure out how to get those obelisks off. She knows that there's got to be something she can do. But mainly his fixation on trying to create this holocron. This is his legacy. So if anything bothers him, it's gonna, it could be detrimental, and it could waste a lot of energy. It could drive him crazy, and the obelisks with it. So we'll see. I don't know. It's an interesting take. Yeah.
What are the odds of somebody finding it and you putting it to use? You know how many Star Wars stories involve like finding a lost ancient holocron? These things just get buried in people's basements.
Yeah. Whole point is hopefully somebody finds this. We'll see.
But it's
like you're sort of like investing in both Darth Zana as your apprentice and also the holocron. So it's kind of like it's his insurance almost. Yeah. It's almost like he doesn't really have faith in her.
Does Zana know about the holocron?
Yeah. Because she's like trying to help him.
So the whole point would be like, look, get the holocron, record everything. After that, I'm killing you. Because after that, like, what's left? So maybe that's why she's desperate to make him do the holocron and give him the attention he needs. So
I do find the obelisks a really good plot point, a really good plot device. I can't think of any other Star Wars story that has something as unique as the obelisks. A parasite that becomes armor that makes you stronger. So that adds this whole layer of intricacy to the book. It fuels his dark side rage, but then if they're destroyed, they poison you, and they also, make it where you're like impenetrable because they're lightsaber proof. But you also they are bugging him. They're driving him nuts and trying to take over his body. But then they're feeding on the dark side, so it's a weakness and a strength. I mean, so many Star Wars stories revolve around there's a deadly virus and we've got to stop it, or there's a super weapon and we've got to blow it up. There's always a way to blow it up.
But yeah, it's like a very intimate destruction.
Yeah.
I actually think that the obelisks pose more of a threat to Bane than the holocron does, because they cause him to lose his cool. He can't be calculating, and he doesn't have a clear head because of the obelisks, and as a result, he destroys a holocron. He almost kills Zana. Like, it's really undoing everything that he has worked so hard to achieve. So I think that they pose the bigger risk to his legacy and to his person than either Zana or the holocron.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. Same reasons you said. Plus, my thing of the holocron, it has value long term. So I think the obelisks, they definitely provide some protection, but I think the cost is too great.
Yeah. I feel that what he is doing right now is focusing so hard on his legacy, but he also thinks that he can get by with the obelisks and he's going to be fine, and he can just figure that out later, right? But I don't really know if he sees like how bad it's getting.
Yeah, it's also like one of those like untested like medical solutions. Like, let's just try sticking these parasites in my body and see what happens. Like what can go wrong?
The essential oils of Star Wars.
Oh gosh.
You want an obelisk? Here.
Sorry, Emily. Now, I have heard the complaint that Zana obviously knows she's going to try to upstage Bane. She's going to try to overthrow him eventually, and so much of the book is Bane worried, paranoid that she's trying before she's ready. Can he trust her? But he explicitly can't trust her. That's the nature of the relationship, right? But she has to trust him, and he has to. There's a certain level of trust. That's all really interesting for me. I have heard the complaint that this book isn't. Some people think it's not as good as Path of Destruction because there's not enough Bane. It's been so much time on Zana, which for me is a plus. I mean, I think Xana's an amazing Legends character. We don't have enough Lady Sith Lords, do we?
Not nearly enough. I feel like women can be so very devious, but like they're really underutilized as Dark Lords, in my opinion.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Emily, I'm glad you said that, not us.
I think that's what makes,
I'm just saying, we have
Xana
great
so
capacity for deception, and like there's a lot of tools of the Sith that I feel like a woman could wield a little bit better than a man in a lot of ways.
That's fair.
Possibly more subtle. I'm not going to say too much.
Yeah,
about
it's okay.
this
You don't
'cause
have
it
to.
feels
Just leave it
dangerous.
as is. Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely, my cat is trying to join the podcast here. I love you.
Cats
but this is
also would
serious
make
business.
great Sith Lords.
Yes.
I
Totally.
think they would be way better than dogs for sure.
Not convinced they're not actually real Sith Lords. You know, it's like, yeah, it's a tangent right there.
I'm just waiting on a dad joke to come from Rick on this one.
I'm trying to reel it in. I'm trying to. This is for you. It's a service. Just, I'm gonna stay on the script.
I do want to ask you guys, do you think that Xana upstages Bane in this book? Do you think she takes too much of the spotlight?
Not in a bad way.
Definitely
But I
not in a
think
bad
that
way.
she shows her potential.
You can see the story starts to split time between them, right? The first one was basically 100% Bane, and now we see the point of view of a couple different people and their journeys through this thing that they're going through, right? And I mean, we're with Xana for a while by ourselves, and Bane, we don't know what he's doing. We do, but you know, he's off doing his own thing, finding half dead mechanized
those
beasts
little, like,
or whatever.
Animal, what were they called? The
Yeah.
robotic animal
They were
corpses?
like robotic animals. Yeah.
Robo beasts? No. Techno
forget.
beasts. That's what it was.
Techno-beasts.
Techno beasts.
Techno Beast, yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you guys see it the same way as I do. I love it when we're all on the same page and there's no disagreement. It's not always the best for the podcast, you know. Gotta have some disagreement there. Let me ask you this though: how do you think?
Whoa!
What, you see the cat?
Yeah, just a cat tail.
Techno
Just
beast.
She's hanging out. She's wanting to play. She's upset with me for not. She's like, "Why are you awake and in the house and not playing with me?"
nice.
Valid
How
question.
dare you have human friends? Techno beasts, if you will.
You could
Over the internet.
probably put a puppet on that cat tail. Just saying.
Oh my gosh.
I feel for her. You know, we've been through a lot with the move. You tried moving a cat across the country. She's very resilient. Also, I look very sinister petting a cat in my lap while I discuss Sith Lords, don't I?
Is this? It's like who is it from? Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, absolutely. Would you quit? I mean, all right, get out of here. Come on.
Oh my
I
goodness.
can't even get her down. All right, let's close this thing out. One last question. How does Xana, I almost called her Zane, it's a different Legends character. How does Xana change as the book progresses? So now we see this is really her up and coming story as much as the first book was was Bane becoming a Sith Lord. This one is Xana becoming a Sith Lord. How do we see her changing throughout the book? Like, what are her major beats? What are the most formative points in her journey, do you think? You think it all came down to the fact that Bane, told her to find her way off Rusan? Do you think there's a bigger moment for her that was formative?
Emily, I'm gonna let you take this one first. I gotta sit on this one for a while.
I was
What's the
thinking
most-
the same.
Here, I'll jump
Most
in.
important
Okay.
beat in her journey.
I don't know if I have all the beats laid out, but I think just kind of the change that takes place. You know, she goes from being a completely loyal disciple, or not disciple. What's the word? Apprentice.
That could also
Sorry.
work.
Yeah, I mean, an apprentice of the Sith Lord to ambition. You know, she really gets it, and that once you get it, literally the rule of two. You know, she starts craving the power, and that completely occupies her agenda, where it's no longer, learn and respect for her master. It becomes, how can I become the master? And so I don't know if I can outline the beats per se, but it's very clear by the end that this relationship is about to change. You know, the dynamics, she's looking for that window of opportunity to really, take advantage of weakness.
She's no longer as interested in being subservient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
The times
Somebody else?
in the temple archives, I feel like the Jedi Temple archives really changed her
All right,
destiny.
not in the microphone, Kitty. Come on now.
It changed her path, right, and her destiny, because she ran into, was it her cousin, right, Dervit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that experience changed a lot, honestly. I think if she had not done that, she would have gone back. Everything would have been fine. But because of that whole experience, right? A whole situation happened, and during that, she saw Bane's weakness, right? She saw weakness happen, and I mean, I would love to see a film on how she would use her lightsabers and how impenetrable this is. You know what? Fanfic.
And the sorcery.
Wes Jenkins as Darth Hannah.
I do think, visually she would work really well. First of all, the new cover, she's got dreads, so that's cool. She's got a double-bladed lightsaber. She does Sith sorcery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really unique character. She uses men to accomplish her agenda with no remorse. I mean, it's really...
zero attachment.
Fantastically crafted character. Yeah.
And there's several points in the story where she pushes hard into the dark side when she has a choice to turn back. Like, you see that at the very beginning when, who is it? She meets Hetton, and she kills that Chiss, the other woman, basically.
Yeah.
And instead of you see her have okay, I'm gonna choose. I can stop now, and this person will end up being fine. And then she just pushes her further anyway, and completely destroys this Chiss woman. And then later on in the story, when she sacrifices Daravit to get away at the very end, and really the whole Daravit thing, you can see that there is still some internal struggle with her. She has a little bit of remorse, not much, but it's reasonable to think that she could turn back. And I think that's what makes her character so compelling, and that's what makes this a really great backstory for her.
Not only that, but Bane accidentally exposed her to Jedi stuff, right? And honestly, I think anybody who's in the darkness, once you see a little bit of light, even if it's a tiny bit of light, it's going to corrupt your darkness. So personally, that's how I see her journey, is the entrance into that place and kind of seeing the experiences there. It really changes how things go with her.
She also doesn't have a father figure in his a contentious relationship with Bane. So the idea that she still has family out there in Daravit really shakes her. And they had, especially in the comic, the Jedi vs. Sith comic, and even to a certain extent in Path of Destruction, they're a tight-knit little crew of kids on Ruusan. And so if you really sink into that, that's a lot to deform a person. And she wasn't so young that she didn't remember it. They were close. Just like we're close here on Legends Look Back. I hope none of you becomes a Sith Lord and blows up one of our hands and eventually, murders us. Well, we'll find out next week as we get back around to the second part of Darth Bane Rule of Two. We got so much more to talk about. I've had to call it. We cannot finish all the character questions for the show. We will come back to all of this next week. That does it for this week. Thank you for joining us on Legends Look Back. Thank you to our incredible patrons for your support. We love making the show, and we're glad that you help us to do so. Thank you especially to Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander, OK Indar, and J.G. Kars on our Jedi High Council, as well as Elizabeth Cloutier, Sally and Chris Eilerson, Freddie C., Earl Q., and Matt Billington on our Alliance High Command for your amazing support. Remember, everybody, sub to the channel and leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice as well. That helps us out a lot, helps other people find the show. If you'd like your thoughts read on the show, we'd love to hear them. You can email us. legendslookback@youtini.com. You can send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel, or just leave Palpatine memes. That's fine too. Hey, you can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Legends Look Back. I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddie
at Wake Up Freddy.
Rick
at Rick_Grace.
And Emily
at Darth Daybeck.
Perfect. If you're looking to buy some of these books, such as Darth Bane, Rule of Two, you can get the PlayStation 2 cover or the Essential Legends collection. Click that Barnes & Noble link, get that pre-order in, and it gives us a few cents to help keep the lights on. Let us know what you think after you've read the book. Leave us a little review. And remember, in the meantime, everybody, keep the YOUTINI fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the Force be with you.
This is a YOUTINI broadcast.